Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are joining us from today. Welcome to the final City Health Talk of the year. Today we're focusing on cycling for healthier and more sustainable neighbourhoods. We're also really excited today to be celebrating the winners of the Healthy Cycling Challenge, which is an initiative of Cities for Better Health, together with the European Cyclists Federation. My name is Joe Jewell, and I am the Director of Cities for Better Health, a program initiative of Novo Nordisk, and I'm delighted to be hosting today's session together with the European Cyclists Federation, which is an organization of more than 70 member organizations across 40 countries who are uniting organizations dedicated to making cycling more active, equitable, and accessible for everybody. I'm really pleased to be hosting today's session with Lauriane Crid, who is the CEO of the European Cyclists Federation, and I'll give her the floor to introduce herself. Welcome, Lauriane.
Thanks so much, Joe. Thanks, everyone. I'm very excited to be with you today, to be talking about these great initiatives and to be kind of showing the best of what our both organizations have been doing together. Cities for Better Health, looking into promoting health, preventing chronic diseases by supporting cities on a global scale. And ETF with a strong focus on cycling for health, as you mentioned, mobility and leisure, with a strong track record of research and policy. And both of these worked really perfectly well in the Cities for Better Health to empower healthier and more active community. Together, we can co-create initiatives to increase physical activity, strengthen equity and inclusion, and make cycling more accessible for groups that often can be overlooked. For us, this collaboration was a unique opportunity to reach more cities, build stronger knowledge around policymakers, and launch scalable options such as the Healthy Cycling Challenge that support local innovation worldwide.
Thanks so much. And that's exactly the point about it. The challenge that we hosted together, the Healthy Cycling Challenge, was really intended to scout for, spotlight bold, community-led initiatives that are using cycling to improve health and everyday movement. We believe, together as Cities for Better Health, but also the European Cyclists Federation, that cycling is really a tool for healthier everyday life, but also more active and inclusive cities. Today, in this webinar, which is a fun-filled, packed 1 hour, we will have a chance to meet the winners from Peru, Nepal, and Brazil, showing how this is truly a global effort. And we'll be able to understand from these local innovators what is possible when cities make space for people. Thanks to all of you for joining online. We want to make it as active and interactive as possible, so do put your name in the chat, say where you're joining us from today, and what is exciting you about this webinar and the topic of active cycling. But let's get started with the webinar. So we'll first kick off by just introducing some of the speakers and where they come from. Lauriane, would you do the honors of introducing some of the speakers?
Yes, thank you very much, Joe. It's really a pleasure to have all three today, although the initiatives and the proposals came from all around the world with more than 200, but we kept the winners, and we're very happy to be joined by 3 speakers representing the winners of this project, each bringing a unique perspective on how cycling can become a catalyst for healthier, more resilient and sustainable cities. First, we'll hear from Francisco Melendez, campaign coordinator at Conservamos por Naturaleza, sorry for my Spanish, an initiative of the Peruvian Society for Environmental Law. Francisco led the work to advance sustainable mobility through the Pedalea Seguro project, using data and community engagement to make urban cycling safer and more accessible across Peru. Over to you, Joe.
And then we will hear from Nivesh Dugar, who is joining us from Nepal. And he is working with the Cycle City Network in Nepal. And the project that they have won with today is Paathshala, which is an initiative that is aiming to combine cycling education with school-based clubs to empower women, teachers, and students in Bharatpur in Nepal.
And finally, last but not least, obviously, we'll meet Leticia Sabino, founder and director of the Walkability Institute in São Paulo, Brazil. She leads a women-led organization working to make cities more walkable and inclusive through citizens' engagement, including the Pedalando Juntas project, which works to provide community-shared bicycles to connect residents and promote movements in São Paulo neighborhoods. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. I'm very excited to hear all about the different projects and have an exchange with all of you.
Exactly. We're really lucky to have them all joining us on the webinar today to talk about their projects, to give a little bit of flavor of what the impact will be locally on the ground. But before we dive into some of the specifics about the projects, perhaps we can take a few minutes to unpack the Healthy Cycling Challenge, where it comes from, what the story is, and how the process is run from start to finish. So let's start with a 2-minute short video just to explain the challenge and its background.
We asked cities and communities to show how cycling can improve health and daily life. We also asked every team to ground its idea in at least one core principle: creating active and accessible neighborhoods, or developing resilient and inclusive cycling infrastructure. This set the foundation for a healthy and sustainable approach. On top of that, we invited teams to consider 2 added dimensions that strengthen local impact: vibrant and safe public spaces, and integrated and connected destinations. The response was strong, with 243 applications submitted from all global regions, representing 46 countries. Each team described local needs, planned activities, expected impact, and how prize funding would help. We assessed every proposal for relevance, impact, feasibility, collaboration, and the chance to grow. We then selected 6 finalists from around the world. They refined their ideas and built clear activity plans and monitoring steps to show how their projects could start work soon. Each finalist presented to an independent expert panel. The panel chose 3 winning teams based on community impact, strong partnerships, and readiness to deliver. The winning teams came from Peru, Nepal, and Brazil. Each offers a different way to bring cycling into daily life, from safer streets to better access and community learning. The winning projects will receive $100,000 along with support and guidance to implement their project, helping to scale local innovation for global impact. The Healthy Cycling Challenge shows the potential of cycling to reshape neighborhoods now.
Thanks a lot for the good video. I think it shows very clearly what's possible and what some of the challenges have been presenting. It really starts from a local idea to transfer to neighborhoods. It provides extra visibility and support to make cycling, in this case, accessible and an inclusive part of everyday life in various parts of the world where the challenges can be very different. At ECF and Cities for Better Health, we're deeply convinced that cycling can play a very positive role in the daily mobility. It improves physical and mental health, it reduces emission, strengthens social connection, and makes daily travel and commute more affordable. We also see throughout the examples of all these cities that went out to us that many communities lack safe or equitable access to cycling. Some neighborhoods don't have the basic cycling infrastructures, others lack affordable bicycle or safe streets, and in many places, cycling is simply not accessible for underserved population, such as women, children, or lower income residents. So I think we really will deep dive into some of the key elements of it, proposals that can change that basic kind of realization that we had both at ECF and Cities for Better Health.
Lauriane, if I could just ask you a little bit of a question also from the ECF perspective. So with these challenges, this is the 4th that we have run as Cities for Better Health. The first time we're focusing on cycling specifically. So it was a great opportunity to work directly with ECF. But from your perspective, what distinguished the winning initiatives? What were their particular strengths and what made them stand out amongst the competition in a way?
At the risk of sounding terrible to start with, I think many of the proposals were very good. I mean, the panel had a deep look into everything and had really a hard choice to make. But I think the 3 winning team really stood out because they're really deeply rooted in an understanding of what the needs of the communities were. They already had strong partnership in place. That's where you see the role of civil society and how important it is to gather around that idea that you have to make sure that you have a strong advocacy towards the institution, the city, and so on. The proposals were realistic, they could be actionable, very quickly kind of realized, and clearly aligned with the challenges principles, which have been shown in the video. And they each looked into how cycling can address broader social issues. So it wasn't only about cycling or active mobility, it was also, mobility broadly, safety for women, data and advocacy to improve cycling conditions in Peru, or access to mobility and learning for younger generations in Nepal, which is really very important looking in the future. All of these three teams demonstrated real potential to deliver very meaningful change very quickly, while also offering models that that can be built on and that can be replicated in other parts of the world potentially, with probably some tweaks to the national specificities. But I think these were the key elements of these three winners.
Thanks so much, Lauriane. And I think that really speaks to the heart of the Healthy Cycling Challenge, which is that, yes, these cycling challenge winners, it's not just about cycling, very important component about it, but it's also what cycling unlocks for health, sustainability and inclusion. And I think in the next part of the webinar, where we're going to actually be able to dive deeper into the individual winners, their background, the context and their aspirations, you'll really hear about how these projects and initiatives will really drive change locally, which is something that both ECF and Cities for Better Health is very committed to. So without further ado, let's hear from each of the winners. We will start with Pedalea Seguro, which is coming to us from Peru, and we will have Francisco. But before we get Francisco on stage, we'll have a short video around Pedalea Seguro, which is working to advance urban cycling through community engagement, but critically also data-driven approaches. So really how to plug the numbers together, make change happen where it's needed. So let's watch this short video, very aspirational, very inspiring, and then we'll have a chance to discuss with Francisco.
We have the perfect conditions in Lima. It's like flat, it's mild. It's a perfect city to promote cycling as a way of transport for everyone. But I think that definitely we are seen as second-class citizens. It's not a city that has been designed for cycling.
Por eso buscamos que se construyan más ciclovías para manejar de manera seguro y libres en la ciudad.
That is Pedalea Seguro, getting the biking community to change what they really care, that we not only need a change, but demand a change.
La final 3-1.
My name is Carolina Butrich. I lead Conservamos por Naturaleza. That it's an initiative from the Peruvian Society for Environmental Law. We have one campaign that is called Pedalea Seguro that promotes safe, inclusive and healthy urban cycling in Peru as a way to involve more people in environmental action. Lima is a crazy city. We have 13 million people and the traffic is very chaotic. The way that cars interact with bikes, it's very dangerous, so it's lack of respect. In the last 5 years, we've had 230 people that have died biking. Need more infrastructure that allows us to use cycling as a tool for transport. It's an opportunity to allow more people to have sports, which is healthier, less pollution, and of course, less traffic in the city. What we aim to do with the Healthy Cycling Challenge prize is related to creating information and data on the gaps on infrastructure for cycling by doing these dashboards, maps, and give it to the decision makers and also the community on what needs to be done.
Soy Jeffrey Leandro, soy biólogo y soy project leader de Pedalea Seguro. Pintamos murales con bicicletas que nos recuerden que estamos aquí, que estamos presentes, que también habitamos la ciudad, ¿no? Hay poco conocimiento de las leyes de tránsito, ¿no? Por eso es fundamental construir infraestructura que salve vidas. Gracias a la Municipalidad de Lima, que esta campaña que tiene, que todos los sábados se juntan y vamos en conjunto, el objetivo de estos paseos es siempre visibilizar a la comunidad ciclista. Somos más, somos miles. Y al vernos juntos, es un claro mensaje a los transportistas. Estamos aquí, que también la calle nos pertenece. Bicicleta Blanca es algo muy personal para mí, porque fue el lugar donde Cecilia, mi enamorada, falleció hace más de 2 años y por la que iniciamos esta campaña. Cecilia se dirigía a su trabajo en bicicleta, pero ese día ocurrió un siniestro debido a que un camión se le acercó mucho y no respetó su distancia. Y esa simple falla, o que parecería poco común, ocurrió y nos quitó la vida de una gran persona, de un gran ser humano lleno de luz, que nos inspiró a muchos también a tomar acción en el tiempo y que siga inspirando a más personas a transformar sus ciudades.
One of the main goals of the project is to expand from Lima to 2 cities that we've identified have the conditions, that are Tacna and Trujillo, for replicate what we've been doing here in Lima. What we try to do is empower people that are already doing something by themselves, and we can be a platform to push this to a higher level. I have this responsibility towards my country, towards Peru, to make it a better place. And I'm also very romantic, apparently.
Wow, what a powerful video, what a powerful story, and what an exciting initiative from Peru. We're joined by Francisco, who is joining us live from Peru. So thank you for being available and congratulations on the win. We really hope that this award, this prize, will help you achieve great things in Peru. If I could ask a first question to you, Francisco, around the motivation. So what is it that motivated your team to design an initiative that combines policy, infrastructure, and program activities for better cycling conditions and more people cycling as part of everyday life?
Well, thank you for the question. First of all, I want to say thanks for the documentary, to the whole team, European Cyclists Federation, Novo Nordisk, Xavier, Gabriela, Rodrigo, and everyone involved. You made an incredible work. I think it sums up very well the essence of Pedalea Seguro, our campaign, and shows also how motivated we are about urban cycling in Peru. And well, regarding to the question, I think what motivated us to design Pedalea Seguro is that urban cycling in Peru is not only a mobility issue, but also a systemic challenge. Peruvian cities have very limited planning for sustainable mobility. You know, bike lanes are disconnected or do not have the best quality and security standards. Bike parking is also limited, and actually daily trips are unsafe for cyclists and pedestrians. Just imagine that the past 5 years, around 250 cyclists lost their lives on Peruvian streets, highlighting the urgency to act. But at the same time, we have advantages for urban cycling in our cities, especially in where we are working, in where we are going to work. Cities such as Lima, our capital, Trujillo in the north, and Tacna in the south have a strong potential. They are relatively flat and have overall well-organized cycling movements that are not only waiting for change, but we are demanding change. And because our objective of Pedalea Seguro is to promote urban cycling as a sustainable, safety, and inclusive mode of transportation, our strategy works on 3 fronts. We have the first front, that is policy, securing concrete commitments and tools from authorities and decision makers to improve safety and connectivity of cycling infrastructure. We are creating data management to take better decisions and to see in the landscape where to put the investment. On the second part, we are also working on infrastructure and tactical urbanism. We are upgrading existing bike lanes, fixing safety critical points, and making cyclist movement more visible in the city with art murals, and as you saw in the documentary. And finally, but not less important, we are working with 3 amazing cycling networks, with La Red por la Convivencia Vial in Lima, with Tacna en Bici in Tacna, and with Bici de Miércoles in the north of Peru, in Trujillo, improving, for example, the project management capacities and giving legal support. Because we are convinced that empowering cyclists is the best way to make urban cycling safe, inclusive, and sustainable, especially in the long term.
Thank you so much, Francisco. May I just ask you a very quick follow-up question? I mean, I really enjoyed the maps and the visualization tool that you described, that we saw in the video. How did you use that, and what's your experience in working with policymakers with these? I like maps, so I enjoyed them very much.
Thank you, Lorian, for the question. Yeah, we're working on maps. We're working on open dashboards because we want evidence-based policy and to use those dashboards as urban planning tools in our cities. Collating data and organizing it shows you where to invest in safety, where to improve bike lane connectivity, where bike parking is most needed. And dashboards are not only designed for cyclists, but also for policymakers to help prioritize safer and more inclusive streets. Actually, one of our goals of the project is to build capacities in the use of those dashboards. And that's why, thanks to the Healthy Cycling Challenge, we're going to hold learning sessions with the technicians and with the decision makers so they can use the dashboards as a practical planning tool for urban planning. And something interesting of the dashboards is that not only we are adding some layers of bike lanes and bike parking, but also we are adding community-based spatial layers with Cycling Network. For example, the past year we mapped with the Red por la Convivencia Vial in Lima, a layer about safety hotspots where we identify bike robberies or common tire punctures, and also accessibility barriers, because in some parts of our cities, sadly, our bike lanes are blocked by informal commerce, by waste, by different obstacles. But we want data, and it's an interesting thing how data collection and visualization helps guide high impact invest, improving our cities.
And if I could just ask very briefly before we move on, what do you find is the most powerful argument for investing in better cycling infrastructure and programs to support cycling? Obviously, we've seen in your video there's a health component, there's an environment component, but there's simply a community component as well. If you could, in a very short number of words, answer what you feel is the most powerful argument and what's going to lead to success in Peru.
Whoa, I would say for sure that safe cycling infrastructure save lives. As you heard about, in the last 5 years, we lost 250 lives. So yeah, safe infrastructure, of course, save lives. And also, it's a really well cost-effective public safety measures that can make. And supporting urban cycling, also we could help to confront the climate crisis because, it helps to reduce our emissions and also improves our health.
Super.
Thanks a lot, Francisco. And now time to turn to our second winner of the day. And we turn all the way to Nepal, where we heard it's a bit cold earlier today. We will look into the Cycle City Network Nepal. It's an initiative led by Paathshala. Apologies, Nivesh, for whatever formulation I can have. And it's really interesting. We combine cycling education with school-based bicycle clubs to empower women, teachers, and students in local communities. And we're going to look at the video now, see a bit more, and then we will exchange with Nivesh around the idea and the project and all the good ideas that they bring to this webinar.
Bharatpur was always the city of bicycles, but now the essence of bicycling is actually vanishing out. The changes that we are trying to bring in is the change in the mentality. So they were part towards bicycle and non-motorized transport and mobility.
अहिले पनि हामी यो महानगरपालिकामा नगर प्रमुख भइसके पछाडी मैले यो ठाउँलाई एउटा साइकल सिटीको रूपमा अझै पनि यसलाई कायम राख्नुपर्छ र त्यो खालको एउटा पूर्वाधारको विकास गर्नुपर्छ भन्ने हिसाबले भरतपुरलाई अब विभिन्न साइक्लिङ प्रतियोगिताहरू कार्यक्रम आयोजना हामी गरिराखेका छौं.
My name is Nivesh Dugar. I'm basically an environmental engineer. It is the first initiative in Nepal that actually establishes bicycle club. Paathshala is actually a project where we actually bring in two different sets of the people of the society together to encourage cycling. One set is the children and the other set is the women. So the first stage is gathering different women for TOTs. We actually trained the women on how to teach the students about cycle and its different anatomies. And then the second stage would be the practicality of implementing the program by going towards the school and then forming different bicycle clubs with students involved in it.
साइकल दैनिकी जीवनमा आवश्यक पर्ने सामान हो जस्तो लाग्यो साइकल चलाउन चाहिँ मलाई के होस् आनन्द लाग्छ
एउटा दैनिक घर परिवारमा चलाउनलाई साइकल चाहिँ एकदम नभई नहुने चिज हो साइकल चाहिँ एकदम आवश्यक हो अनि भर पर्दो साइकल एकदम राम्रो लाग्छ
अब जस मैले गर्दा बाबुले पनि सिक्यो उ पनि आत्मनिर्भर भयो भन्ने जस्तो लाग्छ पछि गएर उसले दुःख पाउँदैन जस्तो लाग्छ स्वतन्त्र उनीहरु पनि अलि जिम्मेवारी भएको जस्तो
They were like very liberated to understand what bicycle is, how it actually functions in the road and what kind of freedom it actually gives them and then focus on their health.
अब स्कुल आउँदाखेरि हामीले साइकलमै आउँदाखेरि हाम्रो गार्जेनलाई धेरै दुःख पनि भएन आफ्नै अब दिउँसभरिको पढाइले स्ट्रेस पनि हुन्छ अब साथीहरुसँग स्कुल आउँदा जाँदाखेरि रमाइलो हुन्छ
किनकि हामी इनर्जी आउँछ हामीलाई शक्ति आउँछ मन लाग्छ यति
अब हामी साइकलमा एकजना पछाडी बसे एकजनाले साइकल चलायो भने हामी चाहिँ सबै देख्दै अब मैले नदेखेको पछाडी बस्नु देखिरा हुन्छ नि यो ठाउँमा त यो रहेछ नि है भन्दै हामी पुरा गर्दै रमाइलो हुन्छ नि साइकलमा
We are first starting with Bharatpur and then after that we would go to different cities. The reason it will have a positive impact is because we are going towards its long-term development and with the schools we actually get the next generation leaders. After seeing such kind of impact, then the governmental or the local bodies would actually allocate funds or budget to do such kind of development around it.
एउटा साइकल सिटी मात्रै भनेर त भएन विकासको पहिलो आधार भनेको सडक पूर्वाधारै हो सडक बनाउनका लागि अनि त्यो सँगसँगै अब साइकल मैत्री सडक पनि बनाउने हाम्रो अभियान हो र यो ठाउँलाई हामी एउटा साइकल सिटीको हिजोको गरिमालाई कायम गर्न चाहन्छौँ
The whole idea is to bring the community together and then letting the community learn on wheels one ride at a time.
So we're fortunate enough to have Nivesh with us. Your project brings men, then the school. Obviously, it resonates quite particularly for me as a mother of two young boys. What inspired you to look into these groups and to combine cycling education with a bicycle club model? And I enjoyed a lot the idea that bicycle is freedom. So what inspired you to get to this idea?
Yeah, thank you very much for the question, Lauriana. Like, first of all, I would like to actually thank ECF and Novo Nordics for giving us the opportunity to showcase what is cycling in Nepal over there. And then secondly, I would like to thank my team over here, Prashant, Sandesh, Chakshu, and then my partners, CCRC, MTV Bag, of course, the Bharatpur Metropolitan City for their support to bringing this project into life. Previously, Cycle City Network Nepal was doing different kinds of events and programs around teaching women as well as children to women on wheels or bicycle to school programs. But later on, when I actually moved to Germany for my research on bicycle, then at that point I saw that everyone actually comes together to instill the sense of ownership about bicycle and then how it actually helps them out. That's one thing. And then the other thing was there was actually a workstation. There was a Fahrrad workstation over there in Germany where people used to come over there and learn by themselves of how to actually keep the bicycle clean as well as to as well as to work around the different parts of the bicycle. So this is how this whole idea actually got conceived, and then later on with the team and then with all the partners, we actually came that why not we start Pedal Paathshala and then start off with bicycle clubs in Bharatpur, which is actually a cycle city for Nepal.
Super. Thanks a lot for giving a little bit of background to where the concept came from, where the idea behind the initiative came from. One of the things that stood out for me in the video is that the bicycle club model here in Nepal is going to be taking an approach that is encouraging women and students to take up cycling. And it's actually women in the community that are acting as the leaders and the trainer of trainers. So what are you learning about the importance of creating a sense of belonging and safety for new riders as you're rolling out this initiative?
Yeah, Joe, thank you very much for the question. Like creating a sense of belonging and safety for new riders, it does not just mean that we need to actually just focus on infrastructure, but also on culture. It's actually about welcoming group rides and then having visible role models and then supportive social norms, which actually help people feel that they fit on a bicycle. We are actually learning that perceived safety matters as much as actual safety. So we are actually focusing on education that actually builds confidence, which is actually a key to encouraging women and students to start and keep cycling.
Maybe one last one, Nivesh, very shortly. We see everywhere that cities are changing and quite a bit. What can your project bring into that when you see mobility needs changing, different type of mobility being kind of developed? How do you think this could play a role in shaping the city's futures in Nepal and beyond?
Yeah, certainly, like as cities grow and mobility, which is actually evolving, we actually hope that Pedal Paathshala can help make cycling very normal. We actually build on, we are planning to build on the skill and confidence as well as a sense of community, especially among young people and women. We aim to contribute to healthier, more inclusive and people first city through this whole project.
Thanks so much, Nivesh, for putting a few more words to the project. It looks really exciting and really looking forward to seeing what the impact is and what the stories that come out of it. And thanks also for reminding us around the fact that it's not only the physical infrastructure that enables cycling, it's also the human infrastructure. So giving people the confidence and the skills to be on a bike, be confident on a bike as part of everyday life. So now we have a chance to go to our final video, which is from Sao Paulo. Where we're going to be hearing from the Walkability Institute about their project Pedalando Juntas, which is a resident-led bike-sharing scheme which is intended to enable, encourage and empower the community to move and aiming to create connectivity and inclusion, particularly for women and children. As you're watching this video, please remember to put in your questions into the chat so that when we come to the Q&A part of the session, we've got as many questions from the audience as possible. Now let's hear from Sao Paulo.
In São Paulo, having access to green areas, it's not that easy because of this intense urbanism. One of the ideas to solve this barrier and this gap was to have a bike share system in the community, mainly focused on women and girls. With this access to bikes, the idea is when you have more women on public space, the public spaces are going to be safer.
Para vir acessar o parque, nem todas as mães têm essa oportunidade. Tem um final de semana de lazer diferente. Mas que sensação maravilhosa.
Opa, bora lá! Pedalando Juntas is a project to share bikes. We make some partnership to receive some bikes for donation. It's not a paid system, it's a system that is developed and managed by the community for the community itself. We are in Penha, a community in São Paulo. We approached this community through Fabiola, one of the leaders here.
O projeto começou, acho que tem uns 2 anos. Aí a gente conseguiu as bikes, pitamos aqui na associação e a gente opinou por colocar todos os finais de semana. Em questão de segurança entre mulheres, eu acho que se tivesse mais mulheres juntas, facilita bastante. Então, a ideia seria chamar mais mães, sair mais um pouco da rotina do dia a dia. E saiu super bem assim.
Hoje mesmo meu marido falou, nossa, mas você vai andar de bicicleta? Eu falei, eu vou. Eu não sei nem como subir mais na bicicleta, nem pedalar. Aqui é o Parque Bruno Covas. É um lugar muito bom, maravilhoso, só que o acesso dentro da comunidade que a gente tem para cá é longe, é bem dificultoso. Mas o projeto Bike ajuda muito. Sensação incrível, é uma liberdade. A gente pedalar e nem sabe para onde está indo, mas a gente está indo para algum lugar.
Actually, we want to do is exchange this relationship and become like a city that is much more a park than a concrete city. And after Penha, we make some partnership to receive some bikes so we can expand the program itself. And now we are going to another 2 communities, Jardim Ibirapuera and Jardim Panorama.
Eu acredito que as mulheres se sentem mais seguras quando tem iniciativa para elas e dá um boom ter essa mobilidade aqui no bairro. Poder sair com a bicicleta, de estar junto com outras mulheres. Essa parceria vai ter coisas boas para elas e para toda a comunidade, né?
This project is very unique because we are creating a system not thinking on profit or economic, but thinking on social benefits. And Pedalando Juntas can be replicated anywhere, so there are many communities that could get inspired of this system and create their own systems too.
Again, what a really powerful story and visuals around the context and how we can promote cycling as part of everyday life. And in particular, that one stood out to me because it was about the importance of connecting places, making sure that they're accessible and that the community themselves feel that they're able to take advantage of the opportunities. So Leticia, thank you so much for joining us. Again, congratulations on winning the prize. It's so exciting and it's so inspirational to watch that video. Could you walk us through how you've shaped this bicycle sharing model and what you think is going to work well in the context of this community? What are some of the local realities, perhaps some of the things that we saw in that video, did you have to build around, think into the program from the very beginning?
Hi everyone, thank you first for this prize and this amazing live and webinar that we can share our experience. So Pedalando Juntas was born from a co-creation process that we are aiming to expand access for women on those communities that you've seen in the video to the Riverbank Park, this beautiful green area that is very close by, like physically, it's around 300 meters, but we have a massive highway, urban highway in the middle. So it makes a barrier to these women to access some leisure, some green area in the city. So before Pedalando Juntas, we actually were with women in the community in a project called Walking Together, what is Caminhando Juntas. And we walked with these women from their communities to the park. And in this walking, we were co-creating some solutions. Some solutions they co-created were about infrastructure that we need to talk with the public government, and we showed the solutions too. But they also co-created some solutions that could be made by the community. And one of the ideas that emerged in this process were a bike sharing system. And because we knew some other bike sharing systems developed by communities, mainly one in Recife in Brazil by another organization called Amecicla, we knew we could develop one in São Paulo in this community. So I think this is very special that how this idea didn't come from us, from the organization, but by those women that were already co-creating some solutions to reach the park. And when we decided to do a bike sharing system with them and in this community, we had to adapt some things first because we wanted to focus on women and in green areas. So basically, we decided to have this system during weekends when those women were not working outside and very far from home, and they could have some time to get a bike and to go cycling with their kids and husband and friends on this park. And also, we put those bikes in the main public area in this community, so anyone could see the bikes were available, and they reach and they ask, what are those bikes? Can I take them? Can I use it? So people started like approaching it. And also every weekend, it's women that are there like lending the bike, because it's also make it easier for other women to approach and ask for their bikes and to understand their bikes are for them. So those are one of the things we adapted to make it work there. And the main important, I think, is the one that was said in the video, is it's free of charge. So anyone can just take the bike and go cycling. It's not an economic system. So for first, maybe people were like, I don't have to pay anything, are you sure? And yes, we trust you. You can just take the bike and in 3 hours you can get it back and another person is going to use it. So I think this is what make it like so different and working with the community. And that was our steps to get there. And we are very happy now to expand to other communities.
Thank you so much, Leticia. It's super inspiring. And indeed, I mean, you say it's not economical, but it brings a lot of value. I mean, it's interesting in that sense that it's probably you don't put euros or dollars on it, but it does bring value. Could you extend a bit on how do you think the pilot will help to extend to these two neighborhoods? And does jardim means garden one way or another? Because it seemed like it.
Yeah, we are going to go to another 2 communities that they were involved already in the process. Like they also walked with us before and they participated in a course about bike sharing system that this organization in Recife gave to us and to those communities, to everyone like be closer to this topic. And we learned many things from the pilot that we are going to implement now in the new ones. And I think the most important thing is always do it together with the community, because it's the community that's going to continue the project itself. But one thing that we couldn't do in Penha, and we learned we need to do now in the new project, is that it's not only giving the bikes and having the bike sharing system working, but also doing some activities to bring more women and girls to cycle and to understand they can do it. So now we are also partnering with other organizations that teach women and girls on cycling, which is Bike Anjo in Brazil called, and also in another group of women that do a group riding with women in peripheries to show them they can cycle and tell some histories where they pass through. So this is a new thing we are going to add on this expansion of the process, and we are very excited to do it. And in those other 2 communities, we have our local partners there. So in Jardim Panorama is Caroline, a leader and a resident. And in Jardim Ibirapuera is a local NGO that has projects there for more than 20 years called Bloco do Beco. And we think this is really interesting too, because they are already working their communities, but they're going to like add a new element that is having a bike sharing system besides all the activities they do. So I think this is how we are going to expand, and we want to see how later on maybe we can connect the systems from different communities for a next step, like a 3rd step probably.
Thank you. You have lots of ideas of how this goes on. So it's really inspiring to see how you develop, starting from a neighborhood, moving into something else. So now we are going to go into a broader panel discussion with all of you. And the first part we wanted to look with you into is the challenge. Asked every one of you to support at least one core principles. These principles could be helping people cycle in their neighborhood, improving safe and fair cycling infrastructure. Which principle does your project focus on, and how does it help people in the community in their daily lives? Maybe we start with the Same role as we started. We start with you, Francisco, then Nivesh, and then Leticia, if that's fine with you. Francisco, up to you.
Thank you. Well, in the case of our campaign of Pedalea Seguro, we chose resilient and inclusive infrastructure because we're going to work to improve cycling network through tactical urbanism intervention. As you saw in the video, we're working a lot with art murals with the communities, especially those ones where we have bike lanes. And also we want to improve it with commemorative signature and bring, of course, capacity building for decision makers to use our data management as tools for urban planning.
Thank you very much, Francisco. Nivesh?
Yeah, thank you very much, Lorian, for the question. We have been in the past, we have been actually, as I said earlier, we have been actually doing a bicycle to school campaigns and women on wheels campaign, as well as we actually developed a guidebook around around the DOTs for women, as well as guidebook for children on cycle safety, as well as how to learn to ride a bicycle. So these were the things that we were doing in the past, as well as we were actually taking doing school excursion with children from the children from the city areas towards the rural areas, and then those students were actually teaching their fellow colleagues or the fellow students about cycling and then the safety around it. So based on the whole idea, as well as the whole project, as you could actually see on the video, we actually focused on the main principle, which was active and accessible neighborhood. That was the principle that we actually focused, and then based around it, we actually developed our proposal.
Active and accessible. Thanks a lot, Nivesh. Now, Leticia, last but not least, over to you.
Yeah, for us, also the main principle were active and accessible neighborhoods. And of course, because through the bikes, it's making more accessible to have an active life and to active mobility. And we are combining walking and cycling since the first. So we also believe in that. And also because we are connecting those communities with a main park to make their lives more active on daily routine. So I think these were our main principle on this project.
Super. Thanks for those reflections about the principles. And also just a reminder to the audience that you do have the opportunity to keep adding your questions. We've got some really interesting ones coming through. We'll be opening up for a wider panel discussion soon. So please keep adding your question in the chat. But we also wanted to discuss a little bit about public space. So in each of the videos, we've seen that cycling happens in a context. And unfortunately, many urban environments today don't support cycling as much as they could do. So how do you think about public space in your project? And how will your project be making it easier or safer for people to move, meet, or reach important destinations by bicycle? I will mix up the order a little bit, so I'll start with Leticia first, and then we'll go backwards this time. Leticia, how do you think about public space in your initiative in Sao Paulo?
Okay, so I think mainly we have two ways of thinking on public spaces. One is that we also co-created some solutions for the public spaces to be safer, infrastructure itself, and making some squares and other areas. And these will work together with the project, and we are making some advocacy with the government and all. And the other thing is that with more women on the public space, as I mentioned in the video, we do believe the public space is becoming safer. So we believe it's like these two ways of doing. We need more people in public space to make it safer and better, and then public space to bring more people there. So we were working on these two sides.
Very nice way of thinking about that. Nivesh, how about in Nepal?
Yeah, in terms of public space, what we are actually doing is we are actually doing experimentation on car-free cities around the school areas. We are actually trying to do a one-day event in those particular specific school areas by keeping it free from cars for approximately 500 meters on the both sides of it, and then doing different kinds of activities so that people can actually understand that the people or the children as well as the women can actually understand that the road is not just for vehicles, but it's primarily for the people, primarily for them. That's one approach that we are actually taking. And then the second approach is that we are actually doing a continuation of critical mass, which actually gives them a sense that on the bicycle they can actually go around, and then they can say that yeah, this road, it not just belongs to the vehicles, but it also belongs to bicycle users like us.
Super. Finally, in Peru, Francisco, how are you thinking about public space in the data-driven approach that you're taking?
Thank you for the question. Of course, we want to increase the quality and the accessibility of our public spaces. And in Pedalea Seguro, we're working in a couple of strategies. On the first hand, we are designing tools, as you saw, our cyclist dashboards, in order to use it as urban planning tool to improve the investments, the public investments in our cities, based on evidence that is very important for us. But at the same time, we're working with our allies. We are upgrading bike lanes with tactical urbanism. Actually, art murals are a really good way to see and to positionate the cyclist movement in our cities. And also, it's very inspiring, to be part of a movement that is building a safer and healthier city, but in community. And that's very, very interesting, and it's very also inspiring.
So I suggest now, for the sake of time, Joe, if you will agree, that we take one question from the audience already. One of them is, none of this really happens in isolation. So how do you build the partnership? How do you know the partners you need? And what makes a successful partnership? Is any one of you keen on reacting like this? Or I see you nodding, Leticia. Can I ask you what you think?
Yeah, sure. I think the organizations are on this topic already. So we have already a network of organizations working on active mobility, because we are fighting for this car model city. So we need this partnership very strong. So when we decided to do something about it, is because we have some ideas already from our partners and from our network. So it make it easier being on topic for a long time and fighting together. And also with those communities, for us was very easy to approach, because they were very receptive on how to improve also their communities. They are always looking for partnership to improve the way of moving around and living. So I think this is the way. That's why I was thinking for us, it's kind of naturally, there's no way of making a project without a network of people and organizations.
Thank you very much. Any one of you, Nivesh, you also want to add to that part? What's your successful recipe for partnerships?
Yeah, definitely. The successful recipe is since for a very long period of time, we have been actually doing different kinds of cycling events with different partners around different cities in Nepal. One of them is the Kora Cycling Challenge, and then through our Kora Cycling Challenge, we actually came to know about other partners or other local organizations who are actually doing the bit over there. And then with their interest, and then with our national interest, and then we actually came together. Okay, yeah, we should do this thing. And then that's how we actually push things. It's not just always working from top to bottom approach, but from bottom to up approach. That's the approach we have been always been taking, and then we have been always focusing on how to empower different sets of the people in the society with bicycle, because that actually gives the freedom, and then that's where the key partnerships lies, and then that's where the common interests and everything actually comes by.
If I might jump in with the next question from the audience, and I think this one is a good fit for you, Francisco. It's about a little bit about the topic that came before, about broad alliances and how you work with community organizations. But there's also part of the question which is asking around which areas of government do we need to be thinking about in terms of creating cities and urban environments that support cycling. How are you engaging with the health, transportation, urban planning department, etc.? We'll start with you, Francisco, and then then if anyone else wants to jump in afterwards, that's great. But how are you working with different parts of government in Peru?
Well, thank you for the question. I think, as my partner said before, we all have common goals. So we go to the local governments with a clear message. We want safer and bike lane for everyone. And yeah, of course, we could identify some common objectives with the municipality of Lima, for example, here in Lima, the capital of Peru. And we started working together. They started to believe in us, and we are starting also to sharing information. So I think, yeah, it's about to give the correct message to the local governments in order to build alliances, you know. Mm-hmm. And now we are trying to work not only with the government, but also try to involve the academia and also, why not, local businesses in order to build a better and safer and, of course, sustainable cities for us, for everyone.
Great, Leticia.
Thanks a lot. I'll spontaneously jump in.
Go for it.
Auto, if you want to follow up, go ahead.
You go ahead, Lorianne. You go in.
Sorry, I'm conscious of time. There are so many questions. We want to take as much as possible, right? So the next one would be for Nivesh. How do you involve the more remote areas in your project?
Like as I said, like the metropolitan city actually has different sets of the city. That's the urban area, semi-urban, and then the rural areas. So what we have actually done is, like, we have actually selected 10 schools, out of which 3 schools are in the urban areas, and then the 3 schools are in the semi-urban areas, and then the 4 schools are in the rural areas. So that actually also gives us a brief idea of seeing how adaptive the cycling is in these 3 different sets of the areas in the metropolitan city. So that's how we actually are trying to get involved with the rural areas in the project area.
Great. I think probably in the interest of time, Lorianne, we may need to begin our wrap up. And of course, there were many more questions that came in from the audience. And we will make sure that we perhaps get those questions to the winners and ask them to reflect on it. And we'll get back to some of the questioners. But Lorianne, did you want to have some reflections on the webinar before I wrap up?
Yeah, thank you very much, Joe. Thank you very much, everyone. That brings us to an end right now. I really enjoyed the discussion and the talks with Leticia, Francisco, and Nivesh for sharing their insights, their energy. We look into how local ideas can drive global change, and I think many of these ideas are replicable, can be used across the globe, and I think that's one of the sheer power of this initiative from Novo Nordisk and from ECF to look into enabling communities, making sure you reach out beyond, and making sure you empower certain groups. So that, to me, were the key learnings of today, and I really much enjoyed your energies and your thoughts. So thank you very much for that.
And thanks also from my side to all of the winners, to all of the organizations that submitted applications. Thanks for the energy around the Healthy Cycling Challenge. Thanks also to the team that worked with us on making it happen, in particular Mas and Foso. And also thanks, Lorianne, for co-hosting with me today, proving that it is possible to co-host a webinar remotely from 2 different places. I think we did it relatively seamlessly. But also thanks to ECF for the partnership that made the Healthy Cycling Challenge possible. That about wraps it up for today. As I said at the start, it is our last City Health Talk of the year. We will be back in the new year, focusing some of the initiatives and some of the partnerships that we are working with around the world. But we hope you found it inspiring today. The stories, the initiatives, the ambition, really to show how cycling can unlock healthier and more inclusive cities was truly impressive. And I go away very motivated from today. So thank you for listening, and join us at the next City Health Talk.